Good afternoon to everyone. Today we will discuss a topic that is uses of correlation regression in our economics. So previous classes we discussed about what is meant by correlation and what is meant by regression. So we have this doubt then by learning of what is meant by correlation and what is meant by regression. So where we can apply this kind of statistical techniques in our economics, that is the main thing. Most of the students they have the doubt that what are the uses of statistic, what are the use of correlation and regression analysis in our economics. So that is the main thing today we'll discuss. So as you know that the correlation means it deals with the association between the two or more variables. Simple, the correlation means the relationship between the variables, between two or more than two variables. Okay. So sometimes they will ask the degree of relationship or degree of association. Okay. The correlation means the degree of relationship between the variables or the degree of association, the degree of association. Or sometimes they will ask the question that the covariance, nothing but the correlation between the two or more variables. There is a covariance x comma 2, x1 comma x2. That is called the correlation between the two variables is called correlation. Okay, that is a covariance also you can call, right? So don't confuse that correlation means, once again I'm repeating, the relationship between the two or more variables. Second one, the degree of relationship. Nothing but how much the relationship is there between the two variables. For example, see, uh, if you have the friends in your class, for example, there's a close friends and just friends. Nothing but between the when you examine the relation between the close friends, this relationship will be very strong. When you take into account normal just friend, so there is a relationship between the two friends, but the relationship is very weak. That is a degree of relationship between the variables. Then covariance between two or more variables. So as you know that the correlation coefficient, nothing but when you are measuring the correlation, it is called correlation coefficient. Okay, the correlation coefficient is denoted by capital R or small r. So where we can use capital R, where we can use sample small r. So it depends on the what you are going to measure. Nothing but when you are using the population data, you need to put, that is capital R. When you're using the sample data, you need to use small r. That is the coefficient of correlation indicated or denoted by r, small r or capital R. Okay. So that is a small introduction of the correlation. So as you know that correlation value lies between -1 to +1, -1 to +1. So then we can come to know that what is meant by regression. So as per that law in show, so to study the functional relationship between the variables. So why we can use the regression to study the functional relationship or cause and effect relationship. For example, what is functional? For example, if you take into account D is function of X or D function of P in our economics. So D is a demand, is a function of the price. So what it means, the demand is depends on the price. That is a functional relationship between the variables. So as price increases, how much demand falls down. So here we can observe that there is a cause and effect, cause and effect relationship between the two variables. So here, to study the functional relationship between the variables and there by provide a mechanism for prediction. So last class we discussed about how we can forecasting, and prediction. Nothing but when the price is increased from 5 rupees to 6 rupees, then how much demand is going to fall down. That is, we are going to predict the future value or we can forecast the future patterns, right? So the regression can provide a mechanism for prediction as well as forecasting. But whereas correlation, we cannot predict and we cannot forecast. And then next one, to study the causal relation. As I told you that regression is mainly to study the cause and effect or causal relationship. And causation always implies the correlation. So you can remember that causation always implies the correlation. When there is a cause and effect, there should be some relation. When there is a relation, there should not be a cause and effect. There should not be cause and effect. For example, if you take into account, see, if you take into account the causation always implies the correlation. For example, if you take the percent of attendance and your marks, when number of attendance is increases generally, so you are going to get more marks. There is a causation. So the causation implies the correlation. When there is a causation, automatically there should be some relation. Whether it is positive, whether it is negative, don't bother about that. But there is some relationship between the variables. But correlation does not necessarily imply the causation. For example, if you take into account, the correlation does not necessarily imply the causation. When there is a relation, but there is no causation in correlation analysis. For example, as I told you that just friendship in the friendship, say if friend your friend maybe changes on depends on his circumstances, so you may not be changed. For example, generally we can talk in Telugu, అతను మారండి కదా మనం ఇట్లా మారాలి అంటాం. Okay, so in relation we cannot change like this, but when there is a cause and effect, when there is a cause and effect, there should be some relation, whether it's positive, whether it is negative. Okay, so that is the thing, that the correlation does not necessarily imply the causation, where as regression does necessarily imply the causation. So as I told you that in regression analysis there should be some causation, but whereas correlation there should not be any causation. Have you got the point, dear students, the difference between the correlation and regression? Hello, Durga Prasad and Monica, Niharika and other people, Somnath, Anirudh, Ushasri, Vinay. Hello, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Have you got the point?
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the main thing you can remember, because this type of question will ask for that PG entrance or MPhil or a PhD on UGC net, other the set exams. For the competitive exams also they will ask. So generally the correlation does not necessarily imply the causation, where the regression does not necessarily imply the causation. Simple, you can remember. Okay, in correlation there is no causation, but when in regression there is a causation and there is a relation. Okay. Then as we discussed, the correlation indicated with R. So the values of correlation lies between -1 to +1. -1 to +1. See, we can write like this: -1 to +1, or we can write this R value. R value should lies between that -1 to +1. But whereas regression, the regression, that is a regression we can indicate with R square value, because when you are estimating the regression, simple, we can put R square value. The R square value lies between 0 to 1, 0 to 1, but R square value cannot more than 1 and not less than 0. Less than 0 is nothing but R square value never be negative. R square value never be negative. Please keep in mind these words. Okay, simple. I'm repeating. See, our correlation value lies between -1 to +1, whereas regression, the regression value lies between 0 to 1. The regression R square value cannot be more than 1, and R square value cannot be negative. Means that we cannot get R square value in the negative. Okay, then the main topic is that uses of correlation analysis and regression analysis. CA nothing but correlation analysis, and RA nothing but regression analysis in our economics. So where we can apply this kind of correlation and regression analysis in our economics. So here, see, economics is a study of relationship between the economic variables. Generally, when we are studying that economic subject, whether if you take into our demand theory, supply theory, and production theory, any other theories. So in every theory, there is some relationship between the variables. For example, if you take it about demand theory, there is a basic theory, the demand theory. So in the demand theory, what are the variables are there? Demand and price. Generally, if you take only two variables, so demand and price. So there is some relationship between the demand and price. So what is the relation between the demand and price? Negative, right? See, in order to study that relationship, So we can use correlation analysis and regression analysis. And all economic theories or laws state this relationship. There is a law of demand, law of supply, consumption function. Have you got the point, dear students?
Yes, sir.
So you can write when you're writing an examination, you need to write in depthly. So you can take example of demand. So in law of demand, there is a demand function. So D is equal to function of P, Y, comma, price of X and substitute taste, etc. So there should be some positive relationship between the income and demand. There should be a negative relationship between the price and demand. Like that, you need to write and you can explain it. In this situation, we can apply the correlation analysis. Nothing but we need to understand first whether is there any relation or not. So first we need to understand that whether there is any relation between the price and demand, whether positive or negative. Okay, then we can use the correlation analysis. So after that, there is a correlate, there is a relationship, but we need to understand whether there is a negative impact or positive impact. Then how much it can be impact? Nothing but how much the price can influence the demand. In that case, we can use the regression analysis. Regression analysis. Okay. If you take consumption function, so the consumption function refers the relationship between the consumption and income, right? So consumption is depends on income. So there is some relation between the consumption and income. After applying the correlation analysis, we can come to know that there is a positive relationship between the consumption and income. But we have the doubt that if income increases by 100 rupees, how much consumption is going to increase? That is the main question arises in our economic students' mind. So in that case, we can use the regression analysis. Then only on the base of B value, on the base of beta value, then we will come to know that how much can be influenced. Nothing but how much income can influence the increase the consumption, right? Dear students, is it have you understood? Hello, hello.
Yes, sir.
Have you got the points?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you can write examples also. Well, you are teaching. Then second uses. The correlation analysis and regression analysis help in quantitatively, numerically explain the relationship and estimation. See, generally in our economics, most of the teachers tell us that is that there is a negative relationship between price and demand. But up to intermediate level, did any teacher tell you that how much the price increases, how much the demand will going to fall? If the price increases by 1 rupee, how much demand is going to decrease? Did anyone teach you? Hello? Hello, are you there? Please unmute and you can. Yeah, see here, when we are using statistical methods in our economics, so by using that statistical methods, it can help to in quantitatively numerically explain the relationship. For example, on the base of numerical values, whether it's a positive value or negative value. So if we get r squared, r is equal to -1, what we can conclude as a statistics students, BA economic statistics students. So we will conclude that there is a perfect negative relationship between the demand and price. What we can conclude? Okay, if the price increases by 1 unit, 1 rupee, the demand is going to decrease by one commodity or 1 unit, right? So that is the case, that is the thing that we need to explain by numerically. Most of the people will tell us that generally, even common people, unknown people, or illiterate people also, he knows. What he knows, if the price increases, for example, if you take tomatoes, generally the people, uneducated people also will go to the market. Generally, they will see that when sellers told you that 40 rupees kg for tomato, 40 rupees for kg, for example, what the illiterate people will think? So if you increase the price, nobody have to purchase. So if you can you give 30 rupees? It means that the illiterate people also know that if the price increases, nobody have to purchase. Nothing but the demand will decreases. But as we are economic students, as we are as we are statistic students, we need to explain that on the basis of the previous data. If the price increases from if the price increases by 1 rupee, how much demand is going to decrease by how many units? That is the main thing we need to understand. So here, the correlation and regression analysis, which will help in quantitatively, numerically explain the relationship or estimation. Then third point, the correlation and regression help in verifying the validity and economic theories. So here, when we are applying this kind of theories, techniques, correlation regression. So by using the statistical techniques, what we can do, simple, we can verify the or validity of the economic theories. For example, Marshall, what is told that law of demand. So as per law of demand, what he told that as price increases, demand decreases. Then we need to collect the information. Then we need to verify it whether the demand theory is existing in the present scenario or not. Hello, dear students. Have you got the point? Please unmute all yourself. Hello, Anirudh.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please respond it because I can't understand whether you understood or not. That's the main thing. So I will got this point. So by using this correlation of regression analysis, simple, we can verify the validity of the economic theory is nothing but whether the particular demand theory is existing in the present scenario or not. Is it valid in present scenario in the present context? Okay. So whether the, for example, as per demand theory, the price increase, the demand fall down, right? So if you want to verify your theory, the demand theory, what you have to do? Simple, you need to collect the information from the price of the commodity and price of the demand. Sorry, quantity of the demand. So by collecting the information, you need to test the correlation and regression analysis. You can apply both the test, both the statistical techniques. You will get the results. On the basis of numerical value, you may conclude that, okay, if there is a positive minus value, you may say that so the demand theory is existing in the present scenario also, because as price increases, demand decreases. If you get the positive value, for example, in the correlation analysis, so you can say the positive relation between the price and demand. It means that as price increases, demand increases. Okay, so in that case, you may say that it is the theory is validity, but whatever I collect information, it is with respect to the gold prices. Nothing but in demand, law of demand, we have some exceptions. There is a Veblen goods, Giffen goods. For example, if you take gold prices, generally in the gold prices, what the demand is say that the price increases, the demand also increases. As price increases, the demand also increases. In that case, we can use this kind of techniques in our economics. Have you got the point, dear students?
Yes, sir.
Then last second one, which is very close to that above point. The correlation or regression helps in verifying the effectiveness and validity of economic policies. So yeah, see, we have the different policies in our Indian context. So whether if you take into account that LPG, liberalization, privatization, globalization, is there any impact of LPG on exports of agriculture products? So we need to verify that. We need to apply we need to take the data before 1991, after 91. Then we will check it whether is there any impact of the policy on exports or not. If there is a positive value will come, then there is a impact of LPG on agricultural exports. So we will verify by using the regression analysis. Is it clear how we can validate the economic policies?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, before and after. Simple, if you take into account that I can give a best example for the medicine also. See, nowadays the Pfizer and other corona vaccine, some medicines are going to come up. See, what they have done, they have tested nothing but, so they have taken some sample and they have given some insulins to the people, whether it is nothing but they want to verify that our medicine is nothing but medicine is good or bad, nothing but they want to verify that is there an impact of my medicine on human body, nothing but those who are suffering from corona. Okay, so that is the economic policy before and after. Okay, and some of the policies are there. For example, if you take it account from Telangana, so there's the impact of Kalasham project or impact of Raita Bima. For example, if you want to study that the impact of Raita Bima on agriculture farmers, okay, so you want to know that is there an impact of Raita Bima on agriculture farmers? Nothing but, so before how much they got benefit and present how much they get, how much they are getting benefit. So whether after taking that Raita Bima money, so Raitu Bandhu. So are they are using for their own agriculture purpose or other agriculture purposes? So we need to check, verify these economic policies, right? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. See, the last point, there is a correlation and regression help in predicting and forecasting in future economic scenarios. So here, last class, I told you that the forecasting in simple regression. So what we learned in the last class, simple in the by using the regression analysis, we can easily predict the future values and we can easily forecast. Forecast in the sense we are going to estimate the future values. That is called forecasting. So by using the regression analysis, simple we can forecasting the future economic scenario. Am I clear, dear students, up to now? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Then after by using that regression analysis only, so we can estimate the growth rates using time series data. For example, we have the time series data, nothing but, for example, 2000 to 2020, 2000 to 0000 to 2020. If you have the data of exports, so we need to estimate the growth rate. Shall we estimate the growth rate from 2020 to 2020? We can estimate by using the regression analysis. Regression, that is a semi-log models. We have the semi-log models, the log-lin model, lin-log model. So we can use that simple regression model. And then estimation of velocities using the time series and cross-section data. So by using the regression analysis only, we can use, we can estimate the elasticities. Can anybody can say the what is in by elasticity? Hello? Anirudh, Durga Prasad, Lee, Niharika, and Ushasri, Somnath, Vinay. Hello?
Sir.
Can anybody can say that what is meant by elasticity? Huh?
Change, sir, maybe.
Oh?
Change, sir. Elasticity means change of a particular percentage, maybe in one demand.
No, I think you are learning.
Demand changes, no, sir.
Oh,
Means change, sir. Elasticity means change, sir.
change. Can you give the clarity? It's not elastic.
It is change in price, sir.
Then I think in the first semester and the second semester you might have learned about elasticity, types of elasticities, price elasticity, income elasticity, cross elasticity, perfect elasticity, imperfect elasticity. Don't you have learned about these things?
We
So,
had, sir.
don't want to raise the questions. No. Okay, anyhow, the elasticity means the degree of responsiveness in dependent variable due to changes in independent variables. That is the elasticity thing, but the degree of responsiveness in demand due to change in price. That is a demand price elasticity. Price elasticity refers that the percentage of change in dependent variable. There is a demand due to change in price. Am I clear? Simple. See here, elasticity
Yes,
means
sir.
the degree of responsiveness in dependent variable due to changes in independent variable. That is elasticity. Okay. So if you take the demand function, that is a d is equal function of f of p. So here d is a dependent variable, p is the independent variable. So here whatever the changes in the dependent variable due to changes in independent variable, only p. Okay. When other things are remaining constant. So that is thing we can estimate the elasticities. Nothing but that dou y by dou x in mathematics, or change in y by change in x, or change in d by change in p, or change in qd by change in p. Nothing but change in quantity demanded divided by change in price. That is elasticities. Okay. So in formulas we can say delta qd by delta p into p by q. That is the elasticities. So by use the regression analysis, we can estimate the relationship between the variables. We can estimate the elasticities also. So basically, we can use time series as well as cross-section data. Then what is the difference between correlation and regression? So here, see the main difference in correlation analysis, the degree of covariability between the variables is measured. While regression analysis, nature of the relationship between them is studied. So simple difference is correlation regression. Here in correlation, there is a degree of relationship, but whereas in regression, nature of the relation positive or negative, positive or negative. But here positive or negative, but how much the strength is there? I think, but 90% relation, 80% relation, 50% relation. The second one, correlation is merely a tool to measure the degree of relationship, while regression is a cause and effect. So as I told you that the correlation, so it is a measure of degree of relationship. But whereas the regression is a cause and effect relationship. Cause and effect relationship. Third one, yeah. So in correlation analysis, directly positive or negative and degree. That is a how high, low, zero is studied. If you take into account when you are studying the correlation analysis, so as per r value, if r is equal to 0, there is no correlation. If r is equal to 0.98, 0.8 or 0.9, so there is a high degree of correlation. If the r scale is r is equal to 0.3, 0.4, we can say that low correlation between the two variables, right? So we have studied the correlation. And in regression analysis, the coefficient of correlation shows the symmetric relationship between them. So for example, in correlation analysis, it can show the asymmetric relationship between the variables, asymmetric relationship. Then fourth one, in regression analysis, there is no such symmetry. There is no such symmetry, and one variable is taken as a dependent and other variables as independent. So when it comes to the regression analysis, there is no such symmetry, nothing but it means that, see, in correlation analysis, we cannot define which is dependent and which is independent. In correlation analysis, we cannot specify that which is dependent variable, which is independent. Okay. For example, if you take into account what is the relationship between you and me and you, same. Okay, నీకు నాకు సంబంధం ఎంత ఉంది, నాకు నీకు సంబంధం ఎంత ఉన్నా సేమ్ వస్తుంది. So in that case, in the correlation, the coefficient of correlation shows the symmetric relationship. But whereas in correlation regression analysis, there is no such symmetry, and one variable is taken as a dependent variable and others are independent variables. For example, see, నీకు నాకు సంబంధం అంటే ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ నా వల్ల నువ్వు ఎక్కువ మార్పు వస్తావా, నీ వల్ల నాకు ఎక్కువ మార్పు వస్తావా. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ టీచర్ ఇస్ స్టూడెంట్ ఈస్ డిపెండ్స్ ఆన్ ద టీచర్. So student is depends on teacher, nothing but teacher is a independent, student is a dependent variable, right? So in the regression analysis only, we can come to know that how much teacher changes in the subject, how much it can influence the students, right? For example, if I'm not able to teach statistics properly to you, but you cannot develop as much as others, right? Because the students are depends on the teachers. If the teacher is not teaching properly to students, they will not learn, because the students are depends on the teacher. Generally, some fathers and their parents will ask that why you are getting less marks in the particular subject. What you will give the reply to them, your parents? Simply, you will give the reply, teacher is not good. It means that your students are depends on the teacher. The teacher is good, there is a chance to get more marks by the students. And fifth one, have we got the point, dear students? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Then fifth one, there may be a nonsense correlation. There may be a nonsense. For example, when you are estimating a relationship between the variables, you may get nonsense correlation. What is the nonsense correlation? Anybody can say what is the nonsense? For example, if you want to take the relation, for example, see, in order to understand easily, I'm going to give the example. So, see, is there any relationship between the rainfall and population growth? Hello? Please, dear student, you can respond it. Is there any relationship between
No
the
relation.
rainfall and
No relation, sir.
No relation, sir.
So, for example, as you know that there is no relationship, but if you take the data, the rainfall data and population growth, one side. If you take one side is the population growth and one side is the rainfall. When you are calculating mathematically, you will get values, positive values. So, for example, R is equal to 0.4. What it means? R is equal to 0.4. What it means?
Rainfall.
Means that there is a correlation between the rainfall and population. But when you apply when it comes to applicable, it is called nonsense correlation. Nonsense, nothing but the population growth may not depends on the rainfall, right? So generally, mathematical people, if you give the data, simple, they will calculate and they will give the answer. But as an economics student, we need to know that is there any relation or not. Then only we will calculate the correlation. We can apply the correlation technique, then we can get the values. So most of the mathematical people, what they will do, simply they need numbers. If you give the numbers, they will give the answers to you. But they don't know that is there any relationship existing between the two variables or not. So as economic students, we need to know that first, whether is there any relationship between or not. Okay. So there may be a nonsense correlation between the two variables, which is purely due to chance. Sometimes due to chance also, we will get a correlation value, while there is nothing such nonsense relationship in regression. And here, see the similarities, correlation regression. The coefficient of correlation takes the same sign as the regression coefficients. Simple, see the correlation while nothing but if there is a positive relation, the regression coefficient also positive. Okay. So if the regression coefficient is significant, the correlation coefficient is also significant. For example, when you run the regression analysis, if the b value is significant by testing the t-test, the correlation coefficient also significant. So by using regression coefficient, correlation coefficient can be obtained. For example, after using that regression coefficient, that is a beta 0, simple we can calculate the correlation coefficient. So thank you everyone. If you like this video, please share, subscribe and share to some other groups.